Good evening. I'd like to call to order the September 17th, 2024 Pinole City Council meeting. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. So with that, can we have roll call, city clerk's report, and statement of conflict, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Toms.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sasai.
Here.
Councilmember Tate.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
Here.
Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
City Manager Young.
Here.
City Attorney Kasher.
Here.
Deputy Clerk Stone.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, the agenda was posted on Thursday, September 12th at 4:30 with all legally required notices. Written comments were received in advance of the meeting, distributed to council and staff, posted to the website, and are available to view in the back of the chambers. Does the council have any conflicts to report on any of our agenda items this evening? Seeing none, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is convene to closed session, but we have no closed session items. Next is citizens to be heard. And this is for items not on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. We have Irma Ruport.
I'm here for a reason, and I don't have anything written down, but I'm just going to try to tell you what I think. In the past couple of days on Nextdoor, there's been some campaign issues. I don't like to see our neighbors back at each other and throwing things at each other in terms of what it is and what it isn't a campaign issue, violation. I would like the city attorney, mayor through you, city attorney and city clerk, to establish ground rules, send out the information to the campaign and their helpers, so that and assist us with what the do's and don'ts are. We go through this at every campaign. Literature, using city hall, city employees, with the do's and don'ts. I would appreciate someone, I don't know whose task it is in the city, to lead us to a path of neutrality and make sure that everybody's got a fair shake in this election. It's only fair that we bring it to the table and have everybody just come forth and say what isn't and what is not right. Because I feel that pitting neighbors against neighbors is not the ideal situation here in our city. I think we have a lot more to do and to deal with. And I know we all have our favorites. You know, I'm just guilty as that. However, we all have to be treated equally in fairness and fairly, and make sure that every rule, procedure, and that we follow all together in the same way. Treatment is in equality. So that's all I have to say, Mayor. And I thought we need to be a little bit grown with this issue. And if we do something wrong, I can tell you a lot of horror stories that I've campaigned in the past that, I mean, we can just go down the line, but it's not necessary. Can we just move forward with what it is and have our city clerk and city attorney give us those do's and don'ts and bring it to your attention? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. I'd like to move the agenda around just a little bit and get to the recognitions, presentations, and community events section. So first, we have proclamations, and we have a number of them tonight, and we have some folks to receive those. So we will start with National Punctuation Day. That's September 24th, 2024. Whereas in 2004, National Punctuation Day was created to recognize the essential role of punctuation in written expression and to promote the proper use of punctuation in the English language. And
whereas punctuation in the American English language consists of 13 common marks: period, question mark, exclamation point, comma, quotation marks, ellipses, apostrophe, semicolon, colon, parentheses, brackets, hyphen, and dash. And
whereas these symbols often challenge one to think about how best to express one's thoughts and can make writing clearer to understand and therefore enhance communication. And
whereas National Punctuation Day is listed in Chase's calendar of events, a directory used by journalists and educators, and has been celebrated by thousands of students nationally in public and private schools, colleges and universities, and graduate schools to accentuate and highlight the significance of punctuation marks. And whereas language arts and standard school curricula include lessons that introduce punctuation use, and written communications are effective when punctuation is correctly used to express emotion and meaning. And
whereas National Punctuation Day was the brainchild of former resident journalist and author Jeff Rubin. Jeff described it as a celebration of the lowly comma, correctly used quotation marks, and other uses of periods, semicolons, and the ever-mysterious ellipsis. It is a lighthearted yet important celebration and an opportunity for educational gatherings. It is also a time for self-assessment, self-improvement, and for sending a properly punctuated note of thanks to someone who has made an impact in one's life.
now therefore, I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, do hereby proclaim September 24th, 2024 as National Punctuation Day in the City of Pinole and encourage all residents to celebrate and reflect on the importance of properly punctuated writing to clarify and support communications in business, government, and academic settings. So, and I'd like to pass this on to Norma Martinez Rubin and just let her know that we appreciate all the work that Jeff did in bringing this day forward and educating the public on it.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the day and properly punctuate.
Thank you. The next one on the agenda is National Constitution Day. So whereas Constitution Day, let me back up. Constitution Day, September 17th, 2024. Whereas Constitution Day commemorates the formation and signing of the U.S. Constitution on September 17th, 1787, and
whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. It has guided our growth, shaped our progress, and defined us as a nation of sacred laws and fundamental values. And
whereas the events that led to the signing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the delegates of the Constitutional Convention on September 17, 1787, have significance for every American and are honored across the nation on September 17th as Constitution Day. And
whereas it is vitally important that the terms, conditions, and meaning of the Constitution be fully understood by all citizens, that we may uphold, protect, and defend it against possible infringement. And
whereas every anniversary of the Constitution provides an historic opportunity for all Americans to learn about and to reflect upon the rights and privileges of citizenship and its responsibilities. And
now therefore, I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, do hereby proclaim September 17th, 2024 as Constitution Day in the City of Pinole, and encourage all citizens to celebrate Constitution Day through activities, learning, and demonstrations of love for the United States of America. Thank you. And I'm going to be delivering this proclamation to the 8th grade class over at St. Joseph's School who are studying the Constitution this year. So let's see. Next we have Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month. And that is September 15th to October 15th, 2024. Whereas National Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month is celebrated nationwide from September 15th through October 15th each year to acknowledge the history, culture, and contributions of Americans whose ancestry can be traced to over 20 countries in Latin America, including Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean, and
Whereas the observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover the month in which it is celebrated today. And whereas September 15th is significant because it is the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th and 18th, respectively. And
Whereas Latinx communities have roots that stretch throughout North, Central, and South America, and many trace their ancestors to the original indigenous communities of Latin America, Hispaniola, and Africa, and may speak a variety of different languages. And Latinx communities are descendants from Spanish-speaking countries and have ancestral ties to Spain. And whereas in the United States, there are approximately 60 million people who have ancestries connected to these countries who reside in the United States, representing approximately 18% of the U.S. population. And
Whereas throughout California history, Hispanic Latinx communities have fought inequalities and injustices, shaping the state's social, political, and economic landscapes. And that legacy continues today. And whereas diversity is California's strength, and Hispanic Latinx communities contribute to this strength every day. And whereas the 2024 theme for Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month is Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together. And
whereas the City of Pinole is committed to recognizing Hispanic and Latinx culture and heritage as an important part of the city and its strong, inclusive community, and whereas throughout the history of the United States, members of the Hispanic Latinx communities have helped shape the social, political, and economic landscape of this country, state, and our city.
now therefore I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and City of Pinole, proclaims September 15th to October 15th, 2024 as National Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month, and invite the city to utilize this proclamation as an opportunity to reflect on the rich culture, history, and contributions of Hispanic Latinx peoples to the enrichment of Pinole and acknowledge the crucial role they play in shaping our country. So with that, I did reach out to the high school to see if they can send somebody to receive this, and I did not, they weren't able to get that taken care of, so I will deliver this tomorrow. And then the next one is United Against Hate Week. That is September 21st to the 27th, 2024. Whereas the United States Constitution was designed to confer equality on all individuals, regardless of race, national origin, religion, or political beliefs, and whereas nationwide, politics, policies, rhetoric have created a toxic environment that encourages racist, xenophobic, sexist, and homophobic expressions by hate groups and individuals, and
Whereas there has been an alarming increase in hate crimes and divisive speech targeting specific ethnic or religious groups throughout the United States in recent years. And whereas in 2017, Bay Area cities printed United Against Hate posters to be displayed by residents and businesses in response to hate group protests in Berkeley and San Francisco. And
Whereas United Against Hate Week was created in 2018 as a direct response to the rise in hate crimes and the increase in bias that pose a dangerous threat to the safety and civility of our communities. And whereas the city of Pinole joins in what has become a national movement as UAHW has expanded into neighborhoods and cities across the country to raise awareness about the dangers of hate and to promote cooperation among diverse populations. And
Whereas the City of Pinole finds that it is vital that all citizens know and understand the importance of creating inclusion and equity through education and communication to combat mistrust, fear, and insecurity. And
whereas this week of action serves as a reminder of the need for compassion, civility, respect, in all of our interactions, and the need to continue to build healthy and resilient communities through diversity.
now therefore I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council, call upon citizens and businesses in the City of Pinole to observe the week of September 21st to 27th, 2024 as United Against Hate Week and declare Pinole stands against hate. And I would like to ask the council to join me up front with our community services staff, and because they are taking the lead on events for United Against Hate Week. So, thanks.
Thank you. Just to expand on what Pinole is doing this month, so for the month of September, you will see those posters around town. We also are doing the Take a Pledge throughout Pinole, so you can stop by during business hours to our City Hall lobby. You can go to the Pinole Library. You can also visit the Pinole Senior Center Monday through Friday and come and write your pledge on a hand, and then take the hand, put a sticky on it, and put it up on our board. So together you're showing that you're pledging to also take a stand with us in the City of Pinole. So we hope to see you and take that pledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have two that are going to be received by Battalion Chief Paul Silva. And so we'll do both of them, and then we'll have you join us when we give you two of those. So we will start with Fire Prevention Week. Fire Prevention Week is October 6th to the 12th, 2024. Whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the location where people are at the greatest risk from fire. And
Whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires and home fire injuries in the United States, and whereas the 2024 Fire Prevention Week theme, Smoke Alarms, Make Them Work for You, strives to educate everyone about the importance of having working smoke alarms in the home, and
Whereas residents should identify places in their home where fires can start and eliminate those hazards. And whereas roughly 2/3 of home fire deaths resulted from fires in which no smoke alarms or no working smoke alarms were present. And
Whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and whereas residents should make sure their smoke and CO, carbon monoxide alarms, meet the needs of all their family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. And
Whereas informing the public about the importance of smoke alarm installation and maintenance serves as an essential step toward increasing the public safety from home fires, and where residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And
Now therefore, I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the Pinole City Council, do hereby proclaim October 6th to the 12th, 2024 as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Pinole, and urge all citizens to make sure smoke alarms meet the needs of all family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. Okay, and then the next one, and we're doing these ones related to fire now because our next council meeting won't be until October 15th. So we'll have these proclamations ready for some events that they're doing. So honoring California Firefighters Memorial Ceremony, October 12th, 2024. Whereas the California Firefighters Memorial is a lasting tribute to the men and women who have given their lives to protect their fellow Californians, and
whereas the solemn remembrance is steeped in the traditions of the firehouse and hundreds of firefighters, family members, and grateful citizens gather in the heart of California's capital to pay tribute to those who paid the ultimate price to keep us safe. And whereas the memorial, a brushed limestone memorial wall with the names of more than 1,500 California firefighters who have died in the line of duty or from a job-related illness since 1850. And
whereas the California Firefighters Memorial was unveiled on April 6, 2002, carrying the names of 855 fallen California firefighters. And since then, more than 500 names have been added at annual memorial ceremonies. And
whereas the annual ceremony honors individuals whose names are being added to the memorial wall, either from the previous year or from earlier years. And whereas the City of Pinole has two of our own listed on the memorial wall, Richard Boise for 2015 and Robert Ramos for 2020. And
whereas Contra Costa County's Fires Local 1230, which is a bargaining unit, has James R. Haynes, Leroy Jenkins, John R. Welsh, Renee Penalozola, David E. Vanny, Michael A. Impastasto, Terry L. Werner, James Capra, Donald K. Leverton, Scott P. Desmond, Matthew C. Burton, Michael F. Braz, David Gelling, John H. Ferrante, John W. Nunez, David J. Sokol, William L. West, Richard J. Voicey, Peter A. Alialti, Roger V. Harless, Robert A. Ramos, and John Martinez listed on the Colorado Springs Memorial Wall. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the sacrifice and dedication of California's firefighters.
now therefore I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the City of Pinole, do hereby commend the California Fire Foundation and recognize October 12th, 2024 as the date of this year's annual California Firefighters Memorial Ceremony, and encourage all citizens in the city of Pinole to honor the courage and commitment of California firefighters as they continue to face the challenges of this courageous profession. So if the council will please join me up front, and we'll invite Battalion Chief Paul Silva to receive these.
I don't have a banner. The banner's hard to follow. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
And we do have a public comment on this item. Irma Report.
Thank you, Mayor, council, staff, and public. As we know, the Pinole firefighters and Confire just became partners about over a year ago. And I just want to request 2 items. That we adjourn the meeting on behalf of all the firefighters who lost their lives and never forget what they have done. My second request would be, Mayor, through you to the city manager. These firefighters are here in town. We have 2 fire stations. Is it possible we do have coffee with the city? If we could invite them also once a month to join our city, because they're part of us. We never forget that partnership. They've been here for a long time. And let's not never forget what they do for us. So I would appreciate if we can invite them to the once a month meeting, and you'll be able to join how great these guys are and what they have done for us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have presentations, Pinole Valley Park project presentation, and that's from Community Services Director Andrea Dwyer.
Good evening. Thank you for the intro. I'm Andrea Dwyer, Community Services Director, and I'm here with Maria Picasso, our Recreation Manager. So tonight we are going to talk to you regarding the Pinole Valley Park project and collaboration that we have before us. Next slide. Also the park project. Next slide. So currently identified in our Parks Master Plan, the City of Pinole has 13 city parks. We have 5 neighborhood parks, 5 community parks, and 3 that are also undeveloped, so open space. You'll see the parks there. We have approximately 54 acres of developed parkland and 248 undeveloped parkland. Next slide. Something that I want to highlight within our Parks Master Plan when I first got here was that we have a lot of potential. Although we don't have a lot of space to be able to allocate parks, we always look at where we are lacking, what we can do with what we have in front of us. And identified very nicely within our master plan is key strategy number 1. We want to enhance community health and fitness through diverse and engaging sport opportunities. The goal identified for 1.4 is to enable field sports to flourish in Pinole through the redevelopment of specifically Pinole Valley Park sports turf areas. Next slide. So regarding Pinole Valley Park specifically, which is the park project that is before us tonight, Pinole Valley Park locations are identified as east and west. So many locals and Pinoleans that we have here in town will identify east as also known as Wright. So they'll say, oh, the one at the end of Wright Avenue. And then we have west, which is also identified as Savage. So many people call these areas differently since it is a very wide park range. What you'll currently see on this slide is at the top, we have the sign, obviously showing Pinole Valley Park, but at the bottom, that's actually our current view as of today of east. That is Pinole Valley Park East. So those are the two locations that we have. Amenities at east is just what you see here, just this open space. On west, we have a baseball field, a soccer field, playgrounds. We have a lot of amenities over on the west side. Current usage does vary. As you could imagine, east, we do not have any. So when we talk about usage, what we're talking about specifically from a community services standpoint are rentals or usage as far as groups that want to go out there and rent it for baseball or soccer or for a purpose that would, be able to allow for our Pinole residents to utilize the field or the space, or for the community services department to develop revenue from that space. Currently at East, we have nothing, no revenue, no rentals, no user groups. West, we have about 10 rentals that happened last year, which was our West Contra Costa Youth Soccer League. They would rent it out for their games last year. Previously, depending on their usage, they also would do practices and things, which brought in about $1,000 last year. This year, what's nice is they've grown, so we've grown, so they won't just be doing their games, they're also looking to do practices as well. So it does vary. And then at West, we have a lot of local groups that use our baseball field as well. So we do receive revenue at that location as well. Site recommendations that are currently identified in our master plan do include the rehabilitation specifically of the soccer field. So as identified, just different funding ways and things to look at, we're gonna take a look at that today. Next slide. This is not new information. This is just information that we have in our Parks Master Plan, just letting the community know these were the different funding recommendations. The estimated value to rehab that soccer field is $200,000. That's what we have in writing. That's what the consultant told us. That's what current park consultants have told us. And the identified potential funding to do so does include what you see up there, the general fund, nonprofit organizations, private-public partnerships, grants, corporate sponsorships, certificates of participation, bonds, and joint use. So these were just areas that were done when we developed that Parks Master Plan as far as how we could pursue getting that $200,000. The top photo is actually, again, another portion of East, and we do have that fence that is about 3/4 of the way around the park. And then at the bottom, we also, behind this field, have our skate park. So that was a couple years old of a photo there. Next slide. So here's where we talk about collaboration. One of the things that was identified was collaboration as far as funding, and we are so blessed. This is not something that is new to us for a collaboration. West Contra Costa Youth Soccer League, WCCYSL, they met with the city community services staff on July 11th, and they talked about a collaboration. They are a growing group. They serve West Contra Costa, and they are interested in expanding the park usage here in Pinole, and also, which in turn would help them and have a lot of our Pinole residents interested in hopefully joining their soccer league. Like I said, this isn't something that's new. In 2012, the city of Pinole was able to partner with them. In the photo, what you'll see is our previous Mayor Murray, the previous director, Amy Wooldridge, as well as their previous president, Steve Wedman, who contributed $35,000 to improvements at Pinole Valley Park. So in meeting with them, what they are currently looking for is a potential to collaborate and offer to pay for the rehabilitation of the park. They are specifically looking to do east, so the place that is just the open field right now. They are looking to potentially put a soccer field there. So we took a look and wanted to just check in and see what the amount would be in order to do that. And a couple of contractors have let us know. We received a quote back that the work is looking like approximately $167,000. So this is something that we just needed to see is this within collaboration? Is this something that we could pursue? So we just took a look and decided to let the soccer group know what cost currently would be in place to do that. Next slide. So through collaboration and hard work, if we were to potentially be able to redevelop this property by just giving it a new piece of field space to use, this would enhance our usage for field rentals and park reservations like we had mentioned with the city of Pinole. We would be able to meet a key strategy and goal that are identified in our Parks Master Plan. We also would be able to expand our relationship with the residents and West Contra Costa Youth Soccer League, and also just meeting the needs of our community members by providing a park for residents and community members to enjoy. We are asked a lot what we're gonna do in that area. And unfortunately, it was a piece that we had previously and it was used, and over time it just stopped being a usable park. And so right now, if you go out there, there's divots and holes, and it's not a park that we can rent out. It's not in the condition to be able to do that. Next slide. So today we just bring forward the collaboration and potential opportunity for collaboration. We are working with West Contra Costa Youth Soccer League to see what this collaboration will look like and see if there are any questions. This is the time where I open it up back to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Are there any questions of staff? Yes, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Director Dwyer, for the presentation. You know, when we look at a project like this, the first thing that strikes me is the project cost. $200,000 is a lot of money, but I'm very happy to see staff exploring different funding sources, public-private partnerships, grants, definitely. So I'm looking forward to see how much we can garner for that project. I'm curious about the expansion part of this project. How many acres is the field currently, and how many acres do you foresee us expanding into Pinole Valley Park?
I have our estimate, but it's already fenced in area. We actually, the quote that was provided, because what we have identified, unfortunately, we did it for the full space. We identified in our Parks Master Plan 12.5 acres for both Pinole Valley Park, so we didn't really do the east and west. When they took a look, 65,000 square feet is the renovation size that they would be looking at for the project. It is fenced in, so it's a nice little map to guide us.
Thank you. And then the expanded portion of the park, what amenities can residents expect from that? And how can that garner revenue for us?
So this piece would be the revenue for us. So we would rent this out with through our master fee schedule with the rates that we have established through City Council. There wouldn't be another amenity added. It would just be an amenity now that we're able to rent out for revenue.
Gotcha. Thank you. And the rehabilitation work is going to be around $167,000, the quotation for that. That does not include the expansion portion of that.
That is, the rehabilitation is technically being considered as an expansion, since we're not adding to this, we're just rehabilitating this piece.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Councilmember Murphy, any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you to you two for the presentation. This is very helpful. I wanted to make sure, because I do know we've had, at least since my time on the council, a project PA 1901, which is the rehabilitation of the Pinole Valley Park soccer field. Are you all in? Have you already worked with our Public Works Department in terms of moving that project forward? As it stands right now, we have about $200,000 budgeted for that through growth impact fees. And so as you're dealing with numbers and crunching numbers, I'm just wondering if you all are coordinating with Public Works, and what does that mean in terms of the completion of this project through the CIP?
Thank you. We are working, I'm just the face tonight to bring the potential collaboration. I am working hand in hand with the Public Works Director, even our Community Development Director, in regards to just fees that we have budgeted through different earmarks and CIP projects, like you're saying. I don't have an answer for you tonight. This is potentially going to come back to City Council with more information as far as how we move forward with the dollars, and once we're able to enter into an agreement. So it will come back to you with the hope of October. Okay. And so at that time, we will make sure to identify more of those questions for you.
Okay, solid.
For the dollars.
And this is coming back to us as a part of another report. Are you all centered? I mean, I just want to understand this is a great project. We've been talking about this as a council for a number of years. So if we can get this moving, I think most of us will be excited because we see it on our CIP. But are you all, given the length of initiatives on the Parks Master Plan, and then this being a proposal kind of one-off, like, are you all considering moving this proposal to October as one proposal, or are you putting this in another report?
So this is coming forward because West Contra Costa Youth Soccer League was interested in this collaboration. The last thing I want to do is lose out on the potential dollars for this project. So we are moving a little bit quicker than this whole plan. It wasn't brought forward as a piece of seeking out to do these. It was an opportunity that they brought forward saying they wanted to invest in Pinole, and we said, let's do it. As far as starting those conversations. For the bigger scope of what you're talking about, kind of the full puzzle piece, more of it's just coming off as a one-off because of this potential opportunity.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
My last question is just for the other two fields. What's the plan there? I know there's the Wright Avenue soccer field, and then I guess you're talking about. Are you talking about the Savage Avenue currently? Is that what you're referencing?
Currently is Wright Avenue.
Okay, currently is
Yeah.
Wright Avenue. So the Savage Avenue soccer field. What's the status of that, and what are you looking to do with that piece?
Right now, we're just doing the right, so this potential collaboration would be just for the right. We did scope it out just to see what the dollar amount would be. It would be another $200,000. It's a little bit more costly because it is a little bit larger of a space. We don't have plans identifiable for that, but being able to do this collaboration would allow for us to save on funding that was identified for this area down the line and potentially move it to another piece of Pinole Valley Park. So that's the piece that Public Works and I are working on as to how to move dollars to still enable us to put this towards another park potentially. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the last question is that you all may come back with a proposal for council's decision-making process in October, given that it's $200,000, and then what is the timeline you're looking at? Obviously, the rain is going to start soon. Hopefully not, but we probably will get some rain. And so what's the timeline looking in terms of full completion of this project if we do approve it?
With council support and through all of that, it looks like the next time I can come in front of you guys or offer a report will be October 15th at that council meeting. And then at that time, if we're able to enter in, we are already underway because it is under our threshold for the city manager approval. So conversations have started for this collaboration. The Youth Soccer League is very familiar. They are here tonight representing. So thank you, Soccer League, for coming out and wanting to increase our Pinoleans. So the contractor has been made aware that we want to start as soon as we have the approval, and they're ready to go when we're ready. So the hope is realistically the end of October. If we were going on Director Dwyer's timeline, I'd say October 16th, but I know that's a little enthusiastic of me. So probably the end of October, but the hope is to do it this fall to get it ready to then sit during January, February, come March, April, it's ready for soccer use.
The completion of the project would be in next spring, you're saying, just to be clear?
This November, December.
The completion of the project?
Yeah, completion.
So it would take about a month?
It's about a two to 3 month, including rest time.
Okay.
So that's the contractor's identifiable timeline.
Great. Okay,
So
great.
for use by the spring.
Wonderful. Okay, wonderful. I just want to note too that we do have construction on weekends now. We did change that municipal code a couple months ago, so I don't know if that's a piece of the puzzle, but I just wanted to make sure that that's something you all know and can share with the contractor. But thank you again for the presentation. Looking great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'll turn this way for, Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
Thank you. This is exciting, and thank you for revisiting possibility and for soccer players and future grown-up soccer players to say, yes, we want to play. So to understand the collaboration, the soccer league is going to be the user of the park, so the renter of the park, and actually expand usage by increasing number of participants, meaning creating teams, building upon teams, developing teams. Okay.
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to learn about soccer tonight because you said the season is the spring. What is the soccer season?
I'm going to let our recreation manager, who has kids in soccer, she's going to help us with this one.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So the fall season starts from August all the way through November, December, depending if currently right now there's some of the groups are competing for like state cups and qualifying for that. So that could extend some of the season for some of the youth, and then they take a break and they come back again about March, and it goes from about March to the end of May. The other thing to note is that with having fields available, tournaments are an opportunity. That's one thing that Pinole doesn't have locally, or even our neighboring cities. So a lot of the times when these youth are playing in tournaments, they're going to outside cities, San Ramon, Palo Alto. So this could be, if it's not season time, but it's an opportunity that during the break of the soccer season, the field could be used for tournaments as well.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out the break. The break would be December to March?
Well, it's not being used now.
Yes, it would be so the break's about December to March, and,
Okay.
with the potential of having, depending on weather as well, that's another thing, possible tournaments during that time or summertime as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm trying to anticipate who else can use this, because once it is beautifully redeveloped and safer to use, it's going to be quite attractive. And I'm thinking beyond the youth, because I know that there are residents who play soccer. And increasingly, we have people from everywhere else, other than the U.S., who play football.
Yeah.
That's not football, as we know it with the oval ball. So maybe it's too early, but I want to plant that seed about. I would love to hear public comments in the future, sometime this time next. Yeah, it would be this time next year, about the good noise that is being heard because of how popular the park is. And I'm thinking, I have visions of what I have seen going down I-80 around Berkeley and those fields that are there, and how wonderfully used they are, how occupied they are. That's what we need here, and I think that certainly will revitalize that area. Having said that, I'm glad that we are presenting this at this time so that residents can look forward to knowing why that noise is coming, and that it is something that is good, that it is the result of people playing and doing something for their health. Now, that's the children. Let's think also about opportunities for the parents who are there. I think the parents, help me parents, soccer parents, do you just sit and cheer, or what goes on while your children are playing? So what activities, if there are any, I don't know if it's possible, maybe it is necessary to be watchful of how the children are doing. But I think that's what the coaches are for, right? Or about?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, looking forward and learning more. And is there such a thing as throwing the first ball in soccer?
I would think
No.
kicking. I would probably say kicking the first ball.
Okay, one of you will be doing
we'll
that.
do something really
when
fun.
When it
Yeah.
opens. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I just want to also note, we do have, this will also expand, we do say the rentals for the soccer leagues, but also just internally through our community services department, we can partner with groups and contractors that offer soccer for kids or families. And so this is going to create even revenue generating to offer those programs to the community, even just internships if we're looking to do it in-house and have volunteers help with us to lead programs like this. This open space that is also partially fenced in, which is really safe. Parents feel safer having their kids in an enclosed area, when coaches are there, absolutely. But for fees and things, this won't just be for youth groups. This will be, if anybody just wants to have an organized football game out there and they just want to go out there with their friends and rent out the field, they're going to be able to do that, whether they're playing soccer or not. The only thing that we will limit through park rules, is just not having dogs out there or golfing, because that'll chip our lovely grass. So those kinds of things that we'll identify through park rules. But it's not just for the soccer piece, it'll also expand just that community use piece. And if adults want to do anything, there's a skate park right at the other side of the fence. It'll be great.
Okay. One other thing that occurs to me, because as people play or wait, they get hungry, eager for snacks. So I'm anticipating that you might be getting applications as well. We would want, but not always. So I'm thinking about street vendors and vending, and I'm not certain where we are ordinance-wise, but it's something that perhaps for council we ought to bring back for discussion. If I think there is a need for that. There was a time when that was an issue, and I know that there have been some street vendors on private properties in the on Fitzgerald, and with again with crowds. You know, for an entrepreneur, street vendor, it's very attractive. We want to make sure that it's done right, and again in keeping with health, that they follow codes, and in particular health codes, and that permits are acquired. So in anticipation of that, I guess that's room for an agenda item. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Councilmember Tave?
Yeah, just a few questions. So first off, I think, Jessen, we talked about this last year, and a few years back, we had talked about the soccer fields. I have two sons who are in West Contra Costa Youth Soccer League, and they love it. As a parent out there, it's a lot of fun, and yes, we sit and cheer. That's pretty much what we do. The coaches are fantastic. Our experience has been great. I think that they do a great job at really managing the game and managing the sport. The one thing is the fields. And every game I go out there, it's painful, like, especially as a council member, to watch this and you're like, God, this is my field. I hope nobody recognizes me, right? No, but they come up and they talk. And so we got this in front of us today, which is really exciting for me because I think it's going to make a lot of people happy, a lot of parents comfortable that their kid's not going to get hurt out there. So I'm going to ask the questions that will save the council 10 years from now. Is this obviously the maintenance got away from us? The investment fell off somewhere. My questions when you guys come back is, what's the ongoing costs? What's the escalator along with that cost? So this doesn't get away from us again. The last thing I want to do is put, money into this time, into this resource, and then we don't maintain it. And we're back 10 years from now, and students who had or athletes who had a great time on this field come back to it and can still enjoy it. That's the main question that I have for staff and for the Public Works Department. How do we manage Gophers? They have torn every field we have up, which seems like it's something that's manageable. It's a very simple thing, but this is how we get to where we are. And the other question I had was the irrigation system, the timers, the schedule. There was been a few practices where the sprinklers just come on. The kids love it. They're all getting wet, but when it's October, it's going to be brutal when it's cold like that. So does the $200,000 also include irrigation, or is that something that has to get added onto the project for that long term? I mean, is that something we know now? Or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay, so two things I wrote down was Gophers and maintenance. So I'm ready for you. So
I feel like I've said that before, but I don't know.
Well, it's my first time hearing it. I've been here since May. So the Gophers is absolutely a really large problem. It's my understanding that pretty recently we invested into a company that specializes in keeping the Gophers away. That is pretty new. There is a cost per park to do that. Once this field became an open space and that's it, the Gophers just had a field day, and Public Works has backed off in maintaining it because it just became dilapidated. We can't use it. To your point of, so we specifically would be now investing with the Gopher preventative maintenance now, which sounds a little wild to do on a park that we're going to be potentially picking out, but it's really important for us to do it now to let them know we're coming in rather than mid-construction. So I will bring back the specific cost on that service and what that would be for this moving forward, but it's my understanding that it's not new park cost, but I'll bring that back in that next report. Also, irrigation. We were going to bring forward two separate reports as far as dollars to include one with irrigation and one without, but you truly can't do this project without installing the new irrigation. That system that's in there it still exists, but it's not a system that is a working system. This $167,050 is included with irrigation, which is an awesome thing to be able to report. So it does have irrigation included. This is the total cost to redo. To your point about maintenance as we move forward, something that as I'm doing this in collaboration with Public Works, we're talking about, we don't want to tax our Public Works with having to go out there and deal with something like Bermuda grass. Bermuda grass is something that it's really finicky and you really don't know if it's going to take off or do well, and you have to really watch it. It's like one of those plants. And so we got something called a blue rye mix, and we didn't get it, excuse me, something that's on the table for collaboration is if we were to move forward we would do it with a blue rye, which is a really good style of grass if it's mowed to the right length. And it's something that requires low maintenance. And it was also something that you wanted to make sure was drought tolerant, because what happened was come the drought times, we didn't have money to be able to afford towards making sure the irrigation was on for our parks. That wasn't where the money was going to go. And so our parks took a toll when that was happening. And so this is creating a system where we're not watering often. We're making sure to do it on a schedule that it's actually less than where we're at now. But I can get more of a cost from Public Works as far as what those dollar amounts truly are as we move forward. Right. But we were intentional about what we sought out for the maintenance use. Yes.
Okay. And so like that includes fertilizer and all that. I mean, one of the things that I know I maintain, my team maintains about 6 different fields, and this stuff can go one way or the other, and it really takes a lot of attention. I don't know if we're going to do a P3 or, what that partnership will look like, but there are people who are professionals and been around this a lot longer. They'll be able to tell, when the grass is going a certain way or not. And I know that pH and all these other things matter in managing this. I'm trying to understand, how do we plan? How do we put money aside specifically for this so that we don't get in this situation again? Because obviously when it goes, it costs, something that might have cost $2,000 to repair in fertilizer now costs us $167. So I just we
did bring Public Works to that conversation specifically, and they had just purchased a piece of equipment, and it aligned with what we currently do. And so when we talked about how they would have to go out, and we will need to start looking at closing the fields for a period of time for that season, that winter season. We haven't done it here often, but we need to really create that community awareness of closure so that way our fields can rest when we have them going. As you know, resting is important, so I won't get into that. But we did pull Public Works in. They have the equipment to be able to maintain a field like this, and they have the capacity to also be able to afford that material towards something like this. So they are in deep conversation with me as well about this.
Okay. And then I had one more question. Sure. As a person that walks this town, walks the roads, sees the neighborhoods, and also participates in the soccer, parking is a disaster during these games. What I mean by that is that a lot of residents have been real cool about people parking up the streets and everything. Everybody's been really kind, considering the volume of cars. But crossing Pinole Valley Road has been, everybody, I know every parent standing on the sideline is watching kids come across that road, knowing how fast people are driving up and down that road. Is there any, and I know I'm looking at the site right now on my computer, is there any way to expand parking, or is that even in the cards at a later conversation?
This collaboration was truly for the park itself. When we talked about how far we could, or if there was potential to even expand the park, because parking is such a commodity, we didn't want to interfere with the lots that we have there now. Okay. I haven't looked at even the potential, the conversation at all.
Okay. Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good questions. I just have one left, and that is regarding the fencing. Will the entire field be fenced, or is it going to stay as it is?
The fence will stay as it is.
Okay.
So it's about 3/4, if not a little bit more of the way.
Right, and I bring that up because some of the neighbors have used it almost like a dog park, and it would be good if we can just make sure that we're able to get on that when people are having their dogs out there after it's rehabbed. I would really hate to see it fall into disrepair just from dogs using it. So with that, we will open it up to public comments.
Yes, thank you. We have Peter Myers.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Peter Myers. I coach this guy, Gabriel, who turns 6 tomorrow. You all forgot that in your proclamations. It's okay. Yeah, I'm a coach, a board member, as are many of the folks with soccer gear on tonight, and a referee. And just want to give a little bit more background and context. Compared to before the pandemic, our league has 2 times as many rec kids. And so in our in-house league. So it went from about 400 to almost 800. With that, we also have more competitive club teams that go and play travel soccer. We don't have more fields than what we had 4 years ago. And we basically have 3 sources for fields. West Contra Costa USD, City of Pinole, City of Hercules. The number of games and number of practices are huge. We've been able to use Pinole Valley West for games in the spring sometimes. And as Councilmember Tave pointed out, the field quality is really rough, especially the Gophers. In the summer when the irrigation isn't running, Pinole Valley West gets huge ruts in it that then, we're worried about kids tripping in right now. I want to just really highlight Councilmember Martinez-Rubin's comment about, it's not just for kids when you put in a soccer field. There are huge pickup soccer communities for adults, and, there are the potential for, field rentals and real leagues there. This is just part of, City of Hercules and City of Pinole are kind of in a race for families at all times. I don't know if you all feel bad. I think you do. As somebody who's not sure which community to buy a house in, I feel it all the time. And I think fields and parks play a huge role in that. As Councilmember Tave said, safe access, being able to cross the street also is a major factor in that. And I think the city and your council is doing a fantastic job going in those directions, in the positive direction on both of those things. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriel. Happy birthday.
We also have Irma Report.
Good evening, Mayor, council staff, and public, and I love the idea. I played soccer over 20 years. Years ago, I won't tell you what year, I was a coach, manager, and soccer player for youth and adults here in the East Bay. And I can tell you how wonderful it is to have local fields available for the kids and for the parents. I know the biggest problem that we had as adults and also coaching our youth was who's going to maintain the fields, who's going to be there, setting up and all that. So in my opinion, I like if we could forward this to the Community Services Commission for input. If not, I would like to be a part of this process, because I think it's important that not only the money issue that's going to come up, but there's a lot of either volunteers, labor, donations, materials, and I know that a lot of the parents would probably step up to the plate. I know our women's soccer teams and youth and adults stepped up to helping out the fields and doing what we could. So I know, in my opinion, I think it takes the community to bring something like this together, and I love the idea for bringing this to Pinole, and let's get started. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one online comment.
Yes, we have telephone caller, last 4 numbers, 5748.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name's Anthony Bossbrink, senior citizen, longtime Pinole resident with 2 children that were raised in Pinole over 45 years plus on my behalf and city taxpayer. Before rushing into this, I do want to first acknowledge and echo seems to be one of few of the community city council members that is taking a serious look at this. That is Council Member Anthony Tate. You know, right now parking is very limited in that area. It's highly trafficked by people going crazy up and down Pinole Valley Road, Wright Avenue, Savage Avenue, etc. You only have 2 small parking lots, and nothing has been incorporated or said about that, or no knowledge of that. Also, the fact that the fencing issue could maybe add to the cost. I don't know. You said you're going to use existing fencing. Well, if you've been over there, only 3/4 of that large Wright Avenue second soccer field is enclosed with fence. The other is, it has these old broken down rail fences that haven't been fixed or restored by the city that adjoins the skate park there. So that's maybe added costs or maybe not that much. I don't know whether you're going to build a 10 or 15 feet or 12-foot fence to keep the balls and everything in the park there. And then I would also like to mention that the cost of grass versus turf, you know, we should put a pencil to that. There's different kinds of artificial turf now that can be used and maybe in the long term cut the cost of maintenance.
Sir,
But
you
no
have
one
45 seconds.
No one wanted to get into that or discuss that in any detail. That should be reviewed because there are tons of gophers in both of those parks right now, for that matter, that they just don't go away. And so we can look at that. The other parks are replacing the astroturf or artificial turf now back with grass again. San Ramon, maybe Danville or Pleasanton, I think is 1 or 2. And that we should take lessons and consult with other parks outside of Pinole if we need to, and maybe we should do our due diligence before rushing into this, and that we should try to maintain the
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments?
There are no more public comments.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to council. You're not looking for any action tonight, are you?
Tonight is just informative.
Okay. All right, I have one suggestion. I'm looking at the street view on Google and hearing about pedestrian safety. There's currently a crosswalk on the eastern three-way intersection of Wright and Pinole Valley Road, but there's not a crosswalk that goes across Wright Avenue and not the other part of Pinole Valley Road. And I would request that you have Public Works take a look at that, because there is a lot of good on-street parking on Pinole Valley Road opposite, on the other side of the street between Wright Avenue, Martinez Court, and Seamus Avenue. But it works if people can get there safely across the street. So that would be my ask, is to have Public Works look at that. I want to turn to the other council members to see if there are any parting comments.
Can I just quickly add on to that comment? The geometry of this street, there's lines of sight problems. So as you're driving, coming around the corner, you can't see a stop sign. It comes up on you pretty quickly. So if they can have somebody look at that as well. The lines of sight is what I'm really worried about as people are crossing the street. Coming down the hill too, there's some issues with that as well. So
Yeah. This isn't a new park, so it's not a new build, which is why that wasn't. I just wanted the community to also know we didn't add that as an observation due to the fact that this isn't a new build. This is an existing park, same acreage, same lot size, but I think it's imperative that we also just look at what's in front of us. So I'll loop back around with Public Works and the city manager, and we'll look at that.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Did you have comments?
Yeah, I'm glad that the partnership between the two departments is happening, and just want to reiterate that seems to be very important. Commenter did mention about your engagement with the Community Services Commission. Do you have a response to that, or do you all plan to bring this to the next meeting?
So we do have a meeting in September that we can be informative and bring this to. Due to the collaboration, it's not necessarily one that we would go out for community survey, and it's not a new park, and this is going to be handled differently due to the fact that it's not a new build. And so because this is a direct partnership, this is not city money, and the way that we allocated it, this was intentional and for a purpose. We have to finalize what that in terms look like first, and we need council's approval first before, but we can absolutely take the same information to our commission, which we have later this month.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right. With that, I want to thank you both for that report, and we'll look forward to hearing from you in probably October.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I want to jump back to item 7, reports and communications. Before I do that, I want to thank the soccer league folks for coming out tonight. So. Okay, so reports and communication on the mayor's report. I did attend the mayor's conference, and we had a really robust discussion, presentation about the community college district and all of the wonderful programming that they're doing with the community college campuses in the area. At that same meeting, we heard that there is a helicopter that will be placed at the Byron's Boys Ranch, former Byron's Boys Ranch, out in East County for about 2 months, and it's for fire service, for emergencies. And it's a collaboration between Confire and PG&E. So I wanted to let you all know that there is that resource that has come to our county. And then we had a report from East Bay Mud, government services folks, and they have been dealing with a lot of customers that fall late in payments. And they are going to do a program where it is changing their meter over so that it's almost at a trickle. It will have enough water pressure for safety reasons, but it will massively decrease the flow that would go into a house for a customer that has not paid their bills. And this is, after they have done everything they can to bring somebody up, current with their bills. And then last week, we did not have a WestCat meeting this month. I wanted to point out that next Monday, there will be an East Bay Hills wildfire coordinating meeting in El Cerrito on Monday. And then we will be also attending the West County Mayor's conference, and that will be in these chambers next Thursday. And then I wanted to mention to folks that I did attend the funeral services for Steve Alameda, who is a longtime volunteer coach, through the West Contra Costa Unified School District and Pinole Valley High School. He retired back in 2011 and then went on to work for the Salesian Boys and Girls Club. And I did attend that, and I wanted to pass along that his family was very grateful that we adjourned in his memory. So I wanted to share that with folks. And then I also wanted to share some fun news. Good news is that yesterday I visited Jean Olversoy. We recognized her a year ago for her 100th birthday. And she turned 101 years old. She's a neighbor of somebody here in our audience. But she's very sharp and was telling me about where she lived off of San Pablo Avenue back in 1932. So it was a wonderful visit that I had with her, and I'm assured that her family will share her resources with the Historical Society because she's a wealth of information. So with that, I will turn it over to Vice Mayor.
Nothing to report. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Murphy, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Today's National Voter Registration Day. Want to encourage folks in the community. Every year every year we have National Voter Registration Day, and on this year, September 17th, organizations across the nation have participated in a coordinated effort to get eligible citizens registered to vote. National Voter Registration Day is recognized across the United States and uses the strength of volunteers, organizations, businesses, and of course city agencies to spread the word about importance of preparing for Election Day by registering to vote. I was really excited this afternoon, as well as the morning, to join young students at Pinole Valley High School to discuss the importance of voting, how to register to vote, California's automatic voter registration laws through the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and also the pre-registration access that young people 16 at least the age of 16 have at the possibility of being registered voters one day and also voting. It was a really good program, and I just want to thank the History and Government Department at Pinole Valley High School for inviting me to join, and of course our young students at Pinole Valley High School for your commitment to civic engagement. Want to also encourage folks to use the hashtag #VoteReady to explain and tell your stories about how you're ready to vote in this year's election. As we know, it is so important to stay engaged civically, and we have a wonderful tradition in the city of Pinole and in this community of civic engagement. And so, again, encourage folks to both use the hashtag to see stories around registering to vote, which is #VoteReady, but also you can go to nationalvoterregistrationday.com to continue today's efforts throughout the rest of the year if you are excited about getting the vote out. And of course, vote.ca.gov. If you have any questions about this year's election or registering to vote yourself, you feel free to go to vote.ca.gov, which has a bunch of resources for you. And secondly, I also wanted to note that this month, as well as Workforce Development Month, which I talked a little bit about last week, it is also National Preparedness Month. September does mark National Preparedness Month, which is an annual campaign nationwide to remind everyone that preparing for emergencies and disasters can help them, our families, as well as our community, stay safe. While resources and information shared during National Preparedness Month and on ready.gov, which is a federal website, can be used for anyone at any time to get prepared for whatever may come their way. This year's campaign is specifically targeted towards communities that are Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander. It doesn't mean that it's only for those communities, but they do have an intent this year to make sure that the Ready campaign, which aims to ensure all of our friends and neighbors have the tools they need to prepare for disasters and build resilience, that those particular communities have access to these resources. This year's theme for National Preparedness Month is simple. It's start a conversation. So if you are around town or if you are having dinner with family, we know that talking about bad things that could happen, like a disaster or emergency, isn't always easy. We may think that we're protecting the people we love by avoiding these conversations, but actually, these are very important conversations to start taking steps to get ready and stay safe. So again, start a conversation today. It can help you and your family take actions to prepare. You can set aside a time when everyone is calm and relaxed. It may be helpful to hold these discussions over a set time period so discussions or decisions aren't rushed and people feel more comfortable talking about the topic. You also can talk about steps that you've taken and encourage others to ask questions. You can't fill others' cup until you fill your own cup up. So asking questions about preparedness and actions that might work for you can also help other people realize that it may work for them. And of course, if you go to ready.gov, again, which is a federal website with FEMA, to help spark a conversation, they've created preparedness toolkits in several different languages: English, Spanish, Arabic, Japanese, Korean, simplified Chinese, Tagalog, traditional Chinese, and Vietnamese are just some of the languages that these toolkits are available. They do include graphics, publications, and messaging that folks can share out with their friends, family, and neighbors. And again, just want to wish everybody a happy National Preparedness Month because it's so important. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
No report, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Tave.
All right, so I've had no report for quite some time, but I have a few things. We'll work backwards. So Sunday, I went to the El Sobrani Stroll, which we all thought it was going to rain, but turned out being a great day. There had to be at least 2,000 people that cycled through the event, but it was great. They had food, music. It was really a good time. They had the band. It was awesome. I enjoyed just getting a chance to meet people. They had somewhat of a car show too. It was a really great event. I also was able to attend the parade in Richmond, San Pablo. The parade's called Fiesta Patricias Latin American Independence Day Parade that happened. It was a lot of fun. It's held by the San Pablo Cinco de Mayo Committee, but last year they got rained out in May, so they had it recently. I got invited. I was in a car and was waving, and that had thousands of people celebrating Latinx culture, and it was a great time. City of Richmond Council was out there. I thought to myself, is there a way for this to, work its way down San Pablo into Pinole and Hercules? I mean, it was a great event for West County. It was really exciting to be there. Also, I wanted to mention that we had the Recycle More WICMA meeting on Thursday, which went well. There was a software. We're trying to get one software to do our reporting to the state as far as our waste that's coming in and our waste counts. So it goes by tonnage. Right now, I think there's 3 softwares between the different agencies as well as El Cerrito. We're trying to make it all one. So that bid, I think, went out. We awarded one bid. So that should make things a little bit easier as far as our reporting goes. And then the RFP was presented as well for the post collection. So we'll see more about that as things progress there. And then I just finally want to say that tomorrow is Reese's birthday. That's my son. He's a stoic individual, very powerful, humble. He's very handsome and extremely intelligent. His skill and wit is unmatched among other 5-year-olds, which I attribute to his beautiful mom, Unite. So I just want to say happy birthday, Reese, and thank you. Great.
Happy birthday, Reese. All right. Was there public comment on the reports?
An announcement that I have. Can I make an announcement?
We're in reports right now, council member reports, so if you can hold off. Okay, so we have no appointments. Let's move on to council requests for future agenda items. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to city manager report and department staff report.
Great, thank you. So I just have a few things. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kelsey Young. I'm the new city manager. It's my second council meeting, and I'm very happy to be here. So I have some great news. Our community development department has been doing some pretty exciting things. And last week, they granted a temporary occupancy permit for wings A and B of Vista Woods Apartments at 600 Roble, making 87 new senior affordable housing units available for lease now. The remaining 100 units, right? So the remaining 100 units in Wing C and D are expected to be ready early next year. And in addition, the Zaha project at 811 San Pablo, also called Valor Village, which will provide 33 affordable units for veterans, is also nearing completion and plans to start leasing in November. I wanted to give a quick update on the police chief recruitment. As you all know, the candidates that we met with, we were unable to come to an agreement. So we are finalizing the updated recruitment brochure right now. We hope to have that go out tomorrow, no later than the day after. And that recruitment is currently set to close on October 18th. We are working through a community engagement piece that we are going to be using for this next recruitment as well. And we will further communicate that once we finalize those details. I do want to invite anyone who wants to discuss it with me to please reach out, and I'm more than happy to discuss. Also have some community services updates. So the Food Bank partnership of Contra Costa and Solano County Senior Food Program has been working hard, and just want to give some updates on that. So right now, low-income senior citizens 55 and over can receive free groceries every second and fourth Tuesday of every month. Our last one on September 10th, we served 84 packages, which included bread, canned pineapple, diced tomatoes, spaghetti, cereal, milk, canned black beans, eggs, ground beef, fresh peaches, salads, potatoes, and onions. And volunteers handed out food until the program ran out. But the next program date is set for September 4th, and we hope to see more participants and volunteers as well. So additionally, we also have the Food Bank of Contra Costa and Solano County drive-through food distribution, and that provides fresh produce on every second Monday of the month. So on September 9th, we served 163 participants with pears, onions, squash, and watermelon to enjoy. And just, I think that's such a great program that Pinole does, so I just wanted to showcase that a little bit. Another piece too, we know we already kind of talked about this, but the United Against Hate Week is starting on the 21st to the 27th. We are participating in this really the entire month of September, and just want to invite everybody to come into City Hall, Pinole Library, and the Senior Center during business hours to take the pledge. It's those handprint signs that you see out in the lobby, so I want to invite everyone to do that tonight as well. So there's a Public Works report that I'm just going to briefly read a couple items on, just to let you all aware of the last month of total number of service requests. We do have a copy of this in the back if anyone wants to look at it, and it will also, I believe, be in the Pulse. So this data will still be out there. But total number of service requests for Public Works was 393, 58 with roads, 66 with facilities, 170 with parks. Stormwater was 64, emergency callouts was 23, 7 wastewater, and 5 fleet. So it goes into further detail in there, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask, or we can also have that go to Public Works. But Public Works is busy right now also, besides all of their usual stuff, getting ready for our awesome coastal cleanup, which will be this Saturday. It'll be the first one I get to attend. I'm very excited and very competitive, so I am going to pick up the most, and if anyone beats me, I will buy you coffee. Provided there aren't too many people, but we'll see. I'm going to win this. Also, just a reminder that our National Night Out put on by our Pinole Police Department is going to be October 1st. And so just a reminder for that. And then finally, I am setting up office hours starting September 26th and then from then on every Thursday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. every Thursday, that I just will be holding that hour for anybody in the community who wants to be able to just drop in and meet with me, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that report. Were there any public comments regarding any of the reports and communications? Oh, yes.
Mayor, I was wondering if you can brief everybody on the pool.
Oh,
If you
yeah, we would appreciate an update on the pool.
Absolutely, and thank you for that reminder. So the Pinole pool is going to be closed for the season. Unfortunately, and I don't know all the technical details, but unfortunately the computer, as I understand it, that controls the chlorine and other chemicals going into the pool is no longer cooperating with us. And so Public Works and Community Services Department have been notifying the Pinole Seals and are working pretty diligently on trying to get that fixed, but it does need to be closed for the season so that it can open for next season.
No, I have other questions, but I'll take them offline.
So were there any public comments regarding any of the reports and communications?
Thank you, Mayor, Council staff, and public, and I'll make it quick. On October 13th, Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Contra Costa County Fire will host the National Marrow Donor Program and the Stanford Blood Bank. They need your help in the fight against cancer. Join us at Station 74, open house, register as a bone marrow donor, and donate blood to help those battling against cancer. Let's work together to combat cancer. And I would appreciate, Mayor, if we could put the flyer on the television scroll to advertise. And just for those that get the marketplace, I put it on the marketplace, and it'll be advertised there in October. So please, let's come out and let's help our firefighters donate, and, you know, just come out and fight cancer. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we will pick up where we left off.
Excuse me, Mayor, we do have one online commenter as well. We'll see if that's related to the reports.
All right,
Hold on
thank
just
you.
a moment.
Yes, we have a telephone caller, last four numbers, 5748.
Hello?
Hi,
Yes,
Mr.
go ahead.
Vosbrink.
Hello? Yes, my name is Anthony Vosbrink, and this is for the city manager's report comments. Can she give us a little more information on what happened with the breakdown, or whatever she wants to call it, with regard to the interview search process? I thought we had the two final candidates out of some 20 or 40 candidates, and now we're back to square one. So did something come up in their background search that disqualified these two candidates? Who qualified them to be the final candidates? And why did both of these candidates reject coming to work for the city of Pinole? That sends up a red flag to the community and the public and other and perpetrators. It's a green flag, what's going on in Pinole with the crime and so on. But we'd like to have a little bit more background history or story on what transpired in the last couple weeks, because everything looked fine to me, and I thought we were moving forward with one of those candidates, and hopefully it was the San Pablo police captain who probably helped bust the catalytic converter theft and wire theft that affected me and other people in the city. And lastly, the question was, with regard to the Public Works Department, are they going to give us, are they going to have a special report, or can they during the city council meeting? If not, can you answer why they discontinued the streetlight repair program that they had twice a year going on for several years, up until the last couple of years after Junior Castro left and Mayor Fitzer left? There's no more, and you know, we had one bad rain and a COVID, and that wiped it out. And there's no pairs of public works people going around twice a year to check our street lights. And it's not proper to have citizens climb up the street poles or go on to the center medial strips in morning, noon, or night.
Sir, you have 30 seconds.
Record the street pole numbers for all the street light outages we had up and down Pinole Valley Road and San Pablo, our highly traveled corridors. And lastly, what's happened behind the dog park trail over there that the Public Works Department dumped 10 truckloads of old debris, dirt, and asphalt back there and blocked our city trail? That's very disappointing. That's supposed to be an open space trail, and they treat it like a dump corporation yard, and it started all over again. If any of you...
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vosbrink. Did you want to respond to that or reach out to him separately?
I'll respond briefly, but then we'll have a larger conversation offline. When it comes to the police recruitment, this is a search that just did not end up working out. And we did have a candidate that we did go into negotiations. This particular candidate was looking for a salary larger than our range, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. So right now, it is challenging to recruit police chiefs. That is hard nationwide. So one of the things that we are doing is we are going back out with the same search firm. We have a contract, they have a guarantee in their contract to help us through this process. And so we're getting a new pool of candidates, and I'm also reaching out to candidates, to police chiefs and other people throughout the country in case they can encourage anybody else to apply as well. So it is unfortunate, but it is one of those things that does occur at times. And we are still planning on hiring a candidate, hopefully, about mid-November, and getting them on board no later than the first of the year. So thank you.
Thank you for that follow-up. All right, so.
Mayor, just have one comment too. I wanted to, first of all, thank you, City Manager Young, for expressing that with the search. I look forward to the updated search, and I know there's a lot of community members who are looking to stay more involved and continue to be involved in the hiring of our new police chief. So again, looking forward to the community engagement aspect of our new hiring process. I also just wanted to reiterate how grateful I am for the Public Works Operations and Maintenance Report. I know this takes some time to do, and just, again, seeing some of the wins here, oftentimes we get a lot of, or I guess I get a lot of emails about potholes on Appian Way, and so also thank you. It's great to see that just in the last month, nearly 30 potholes were filled along lanes of Faria Avenue, Pinole Valley Road, Shawn Drive, Greenfield Circle, Wright Avenue, and Appian Way, as well as Centera Hills. So just wanted to note that because that's a big success of our Public Works Department. And I know that, again, putting this report is a job of its own, but doing the work of the report is probably a bigger job. And so just wanted to thank our city staff for making sure that we are pushing out the operations that are really needed from our community. And also wanted to encourage folks to continue to utilize our new website, which has been a great way of reporting problems. If you go to pinole.gov in the top right corner, you can easily report a problem to Public Works and do many other reporting of problems to other departments as well. So if folks do see that they have issues, of course, the public comment is a way to do that. But also, I really encourage folks to report problems and violations that they see, so that our Public Works Department can kind of, again, increase their total number of service requests and follow suit on some of the issues. I did have one question about the trees. I had some folks in the community in Pinole Valley along Galarte Avenue or Drive mentioned that there were some trees that were cut. I just wanted to make sure that one of the conversations we've had as a council has been around like a tree master plan, or the thought process of how to get more trees in our community by way of many different avenues, but certainly to kind of address the hot climate. I was hoping and wondering if we are tracking the trees that are being cut. Of course, I know most of the trees that are cut are because they're usually unsafe for the community, but also just wanted to see if we can, moving forward, just track the location of those trees with hopes that we will replant a tree in that area or something similar to that. So is that something we can just, if we're not doing that, is that something we can just do moving forward?
So I believe we are tracking that.
Okay.
But I will need to get more information and bring that back.
Okay, no worries. I just wanted to make sure we take note of that, and would just love for us to again track those as we build out our next rendition of what it looks like to plant back these trees.
Absolutely, and having that as a larger discussion about how we want to strategize about that, I think is a great idea.
Solid. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So now we will move to the consent calendar. We have items 9A through I. Does the council want to pull any items? Okay, seeing none, we'll,
Mayor?
oh, yes,
Yeah, very briefly, item 9A, please.
9A,
Mhm.
okay. All right, any others? Okay, any public comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have several. So we have Ann Moriarty would like to speak on item 9H. We have Irma report for item 9B. Rafael Menez for items 9B, C, D, E, and G. And I believe that is it for now.
All right.
Great.
Good evening.
Thank you. My name is Ann Moriarty, and I'm here on behalf of Friends of Pinole Creek Watershed. So we extend our welcome to City Manager Kelsey Young and her family and look forward to working together. And you will have a lot of competition on Saturday, just so you know. So be prepared. You said, depends upon how many cups of coffee. Well, be prepared. Anyway, specifically, we do want to thank the city for adopting the single-use plastic foodware and bag reduction ordinance. We are thrilled to see this finally come through to the end. And thank you to Lily Whalen and to Kapil Amin for their thorough work and tireless attention to this matter. Thank you also to council and staff for their support. And we were glad to see that the resolution to provide technical assistance to businesses that will go a long way towards making the ordinance a success and reducing the amount of plastic waste in our community. In addition, I'd like to give a shout out to Sarah Patton for her work in following up with a property owner to install a fence that will protect the creek from trash generated in the parking lot behind the bowling alley. That should be finished this week, according to her report. So we're excited to see that happen. And again, a shout out to Public Works and to Sanjay Mishra for their tireless work to address trash in our community. And we are just thankful for that. Just so the community knows, they've agreed to a daily cleaning of the trail behind the King Valley restaurant. And so that is something. I mean, that is something that there are community members who clean there every week. And we're looking forward to seeing that be in a better place. So we look forward as well with City Manager Young to the coastal cleanup at Bayfront Park this Saturday. Friends of Pinole Creek Watershed will be there, and we hope to see you too. So thank you.
Thank you. Raphael?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Rafael Mess. I am a resident of Pinole, and I have comments on a few of the consent calendar items tonight. First off, I'd like to address item 9B, the warrant listing. I'm curious as to the nature of the payout to former chief/interim city manager Neil Gang. Is it just accrued vacation time, or are there other factors included in that amount? Secondarily, I noticed that on page, let's see, where was it? Yes, page number 32, the warrant number INV 00100217, refund office expense, city treasurer. I was curious as to sort of what expenses fell under that expense. Is that just $206.31 for a lot of pens for signing checks, or are there other things that go into that expenditure? And then finally, on page number 33, I noted that there was a CalCard statement citywide as the final item in the warrants, and I was curious as to just what exactly CalCard is. All right, moving on to item 9C, the fourth quarter investment report. My first question is on page number 41 of the agenda packet with regards to the overall yield comparison. It shows a value of 4.4426216, and I'm curious whether we actually have enough significant digits of accuracy to be able to report to that level of detail. Let's see. Then On item 9D, the city's fourth quarter financial report and year-end adjustments, I have several questions there. First off, on page number 44, I note that sales and use taxes are below the amended budget amount for the general sales and use tax category, but slightly above it for the Measure S 2006 and Measure S 2014 categories. And I'm curious as to if there's any reason as to why that's the case. On page number 46, I noticed that City Council and City Treasurer expenditures were above the amended budget amounts, and I was curious as to why that was the case. On page number 48, let's see, what specific item was this for? Yes, for the NPDES Stormwater Fund. I saw that the revenues were less than the expected amount, and I was curious as to why that was the case, because it seems like those revenues should be relatively routine. We should have received them all by the end of the quarter, and there's no normal reason for variance, so I'm quite curious as to why that one varied. On page number 49, I'm a little bit curious as to why, when the revenue amount was greater for the recreation fund and the expenditures were less than expected, that we still need to add in more transfers from the general fund, or from Measure S 2014, technically I should say, to the recreation fund to offset. I feel like I'm not understanding something on that particular item. On page number 50, with the Growth Impact Fund, I'm curious as to whether impact fee revenues being lower as compared to planning fee revenues being higher was just due to the timing of projects or for some other reason. On page number 51, I noted that the Sewer Enterprise Fund revenue was at 99% of projected, not 100%. I'm curious as to why there was a 1% difference there. And let's see. And there are a few items in the budget charts, like, for example, fund number 206, the interest and investment income, that had a 1,480% increase. Let's see. There were a few other ones like that. On page number 59, there was a 1,753% increase for the interest and investment fund for the solid waste fund, and I was curious as to what had changed to lead to increases of that magnitude. And then moving on to item 9E, I note that that expense seems reasonable, but I'm curious as to what the ongoing cost of the current system that we're replacing was. Was it just all paid off and it was a one-time cost, or was there some ongoing cost associated with the current system? And if so, what was that ongoing cost? And secondarily, on page number 70, I noted that the smart caption amount was for, I think, 500 hours, if I'm reading that properly. Though it could also be for 100 hours. And I was curious whether that renewed annually or not, and what would happen if the city broadcasted for over 600 hours per year, because I know that between the council meetings and the planning commission meetings and other city events, that's not entirely unfeasible. Is there some sort of set rate above that amount? Would the city need to immediately negotiate? How does that work? And then on page number 161, and I think this is for item number 9. G, one of the later 9s. It's the one talking about basically the contractor for implementing the proposed plastic waste program. I noted that basically we were going to be paying, and you can see this information on page number 161, the plastic reduction project $12,000 as opposed to their initial bid of $22,000 something. I was curious as to basically which elements in particular of the overall meta bid that's covered in pages 160 through 161 as being done by the primary contractor. The city felt that plastic reduction project would need more, I guess, support scope of work to be able to accomplish, and whether as part of this process and being a subcontractor, whether it would be possible for the plastic reduction project to potentially gain skill in those areas, or whether they'll be exclusively working in the areas that they're contracted for in particular. And then I also have a minor comment on one of their examples on page number 171. The font size in their suggested outreach material is minuscule. I would strongly suggest in any outreach material that they're publishing that they use larger fonts. And then let's see. And I believe that is all my comments on the consent calendar items. Thank you.
And our next speaker.
Irma report.
Mayor, thank you. Council, staff, and public. Really quick, Mayor, I do have the same question Rafael had on 9B about Chief Gang's payout. Just one suggestion. When we have these list of warrants, possibly we can be more specific, detailed, then we would prevent from having all these questions here. And in the future, anybody who has more than one or two questions, my suggestion is put them in writing, give them to you, Mayor, and the city manager, and then come out here and answer those questions. I think it's more appropriate. We put people here, on, how should I say it? We don't give our employees enough time to look at some of these questions that we ask, and we need to answer them. But at the same time, we can't spend the whole evening asking questions and not getting answers. So my suggestion would be that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Okay, I want to note that our staff is always available, to answer the questions ahead of time. They've been available. So I wanted to ask Director Guillory if she is able to address any of those. Good evening.
Good evening. So for some of the questions on 9D, I will need to drill down on those, and I can get back to Mr. Menace on those.
Okay.
But going back to the questions on 9B regarding Chief Gang's payouts, those did consist of payouts for accrued vacation, sick, and administrative leave. So those are customary payouts for any employees that separate from the city. So those had accrued over time and were all paid out.
Okay.
As far as the refund to the city treasurer, we do refund for printing costs for him to print city documents such as the budget, any financial reports. So that was what that reimbursement was for. And then as far as the CalCard statements, one of the questions came up is what is the CalCard? That is the city-issued credit card to several staff members to be able to make small dollar purchases, mostly those that don't require a formal purchase order or things for bigger capital improvement projects and such. There is a minimum of $2,500 per month per holder, and for directors is $5,000 per month, again, for small dollar purchases. That includes a number of things such as office supplies, maintenance supplies, safety equipment that are on the lower dollar end. So that's what that is. Great. And then as far as the budget questions, I have some of them, but just to be able to supply all of those answers, I will respond to Mr. Menace via email.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Okay, we'll bring it back to the council. Is there?
Mayor, we do have one comment online.
Okay.
We have telephone caller, last four numbers 5748.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to just comment on item 9B and 9G, although it was somewhat explained, I guess, by not the treasurer, but the finance director there. As far as police neo-gang separation / retirement / accrued total of $134,000, to me and some other members of the public, it just seems very odd, if not strange, that number, the ballpark number of $134,000, is pretty much close to the exact dollar amount, within $1,000 or two, of the agreement that was struck with the employment contract, or the city manager and or the city council, with the departure of city manager, the late city manager, Andrew Murray, who had to go to work in Berkeley for 6 months before he finally landed on his feet in Vallejo as city manager there. And then the second part of the second question is item G. What is the $67,000 for the plastic environmental administration or consultation? Can you break that number down? Because it seems awfully high. And is that what cities of our size throughout the county are having to pay to administer the same type of plastic utensil code within restrictions or what have you within their own cities, $67,000 number? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask staff to address that? And I also want to note that Mr. Gang was here for over 10 years and had quite a lot of vacation time that he had not used, and he's entitled to be reimbursed for that, on his way out. Okay.
All right. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Lily Whalen, your Community Development Director. So I'll address the Rafael Manis's question first regarding, excuse me, the recommended contract that you have in front of you. So we received, as it stated in the staff report, proposals from 7 different entities. One of those proposals was from the volunteer group that helped us with our surveying work that we did, that ended up coming to fruition, this ordinance that you adopted, that you have on your consent calendar this evening. And that group proposed on certain aspects of the RFP, not the entire RFP. So they're limited in capacity. They run on volunteers, and they recognize their strengths and what they don't have to offer. So when we brought them together with environmental innovations, we worked out what exactly they would be able to do that would provide the city with the most success in implementing this ordinance. And we even, so they bring with them some food service background. So at first we were interested in them helping with only the bag portion of the project. And then we expanded that to foodware because of their background in foodware. So we did adjust the responsibilities in the proposal. And then the second question was related to the breakdown of budget for the contract. So the contract that's recommended before you tonight is $5,000 less than the total that's on the agenda. $5,000 is for printing of the materials and distribution to businesses, and then the remainder is for the contract with Environmental Innovations, and a portion of that is a subcontractor. And Kapil can give you a breakdown of those amounts right now.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor,
evening.
council members, staff, and members of the public. So a breakdown of, first of all, the technical assistance is crucial because there are nuances to the ordinance, and it's important that the businesses are in compliance and what the waste hauler can accept. So it's key to have that technical assistance to the businesses to make sure they know what foodware is compliant and what's not. And they also kind of streamline the whole process and make it easy and like a smooth transition for the businesses, and kind of reduce costs and provide cost-effective solutions, especially for the small businesses. So a breakdown is that they're going to provide a foodware purchasing guide, which is kind of going to streamline all the links to different distributors and an easy way for the businesses to get in contact with distributors. They're going to, like, in-person meetings, kind of look if there's dishwasher capacity, see if reusables could be implemented in the business, and that kind of helps reduce costs, as well as educating on different like Senate bills and different ordinances, such as like packaging utensils, like coupling utensils together and providing extra reinforcement of those state regulations, as well as what are compliant bag options. If there's any assistance that's required for waivers or extension of times, they can kind of go over that process as well. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop for the businesses to be in compliance and kind of accelerate compliance.
Okay, thank you.
And just one other thing to add, the council can certainly set the level of technical assistance that you would like to provide to the business community. The ordinance requires a minimum level of technical assistance, and I think this technical assistance is pretty robust. However, I think that if we don't provide an adequate level of technical assistance, we'll be on the other side of things with code enforcement, and there'll be additional costs for code enforcement to enforce the ordinance.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Menace, does that take care of your questions that you had? Or is there something that you can talk to staff directly?
Certainly, there are points I can talk to staff directly about. I just wanted to address some of the comments made by fellow commenters and yourself towards me directly, sort of right of reply briefly. I do try to submit my questions in writing when and as I was able. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that this time, and I do apologize to staff for that. I do recognize that for several of my questions, it would have been simpler for staff to receive them in writing. But I also believe that even in this limited format, presenting them verbally does provide a benefit to the council and the community in having them answered as staff is able. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we have...
Mayor, we do have one more online.
Okay.
Debbie Long.
Okay.
Good evening, council. I just have one more, well, it's a question followed with a comment, and it had to do with the revenue, and it was 195% other revenue. And I'm assuming that is from one-time money, either the sale of property or permits, such as what's happening where the old doctor's hospital site was. Nevertheless, I am going to make the assumption that it is probably one-time money, and I think it should actually be accounted for in a separate line. I realize it's general fund, but just in the event that you were expending money for ongoing purposes, it needs to be differentiated as one-time monies, if in fact that's the case from the other income. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, yes.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. My name is Fio, and I just wanted to answer Raphael's question on item 9E regarding the purchase of the master control management system. He had a question about the expenses, the ongoing expenses and the cost of what the current system is. The current system, the electronics that we're using is about approximately $9,425 annually. We are having to use 3 different systems to account for what this new Telview broadcast server will be providing for us. So that's going to be a savings of about $3,487 less than what our current system is costing us, so that will help us use better efficient use of resources. And then he also had a question about the the closed captioning amount at 200 hours. So this is an a la carte service that we can purchase as needed. We're estimating that we'll be using about 180 hours per year with the council meetings and some of the other government meetings that we produce. So when needed, we can purchase those. It also gives us time to look at other cost-effective options to meet the FCC, the Federal Communication Commission requirements for closed captioning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I'll move, I think there was amendments to 9A, is that correct? Okay, so I'll move approval with those amendments of the consent calendar.
Second.
But I haven't
We don't know
indicated
what
the
those
amendments.
are.
Oh, you still haven't gone, okay.
That's right.
Yes. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, very briefly. So on page, thank you, thinking ahead. Page 4 of the minutes, at the top of the page 4 or page 15 of 210. There's the second line, please have it read, she referenced a Zoom meeting for community members. I know that in my comments, I thought out loud and mentioned podcast, and then I corrected myself to indicate that it was a Zoom meeting. So she referenced a Zoom meeting for community members about how policing had been done in the city of Pinole. No podcast. Thank you.
Okay. All right, now we'll get ready for your motion.
All right.
Motion to approve with.
Just want to make sure. Okay, great. Motion to approve with those amendments, the consent calendar.
Second.
And second, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's 5-0. All right, thank you all. All right, we'll be moving on to public hearings. This is introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2.08.010 of the Pinole Municipal Code to increase council members' salaries. And the action is to conduct a public hearing and waive the first reading of the ordinance. And our city attorney, please.
Thank you, Mayor Toms. I have a brief verbal report for this particular item. So Mayor Toms, City Council, staff and members of the public, Eric Kasher, City Attorney for the City of Pinole. Just by way of background, this item is before you on a first read. So the recommendation by staff is to conduct a public hearing and waive the first reading of this ordinance amending Chapter 2.08.010 of the Pinole Municipal Code. On April 18th of last year, the City Council considered an increase to council member salaries. By way of background, the California Government Code, Section 36516, provides for the salaries that can be paid to city council members. It differs depending on the population of a particular city. And for cities like Pinole that are under 30,000 residents, the maximum salary that can be paid per month to a city council member by statute is $950 per month. There is the ability to, for the city council to increase the city council member salaries beyond that amount, but they would essentially have to do so through a process that was not undertaken by us. The city council hasn't, it was noted in April that the council has not amended the city council salaries since 2016. And at the time, in the municipal code currently, the salary for city council members is $562.50 per month. On April 18th of last year, it was decided to increase the salary for city council members to $759.41 per month. So that's an increase of approximately $200, but still $200 less than what is provided for and permitted under state law. The staff report is included on page, starting at page 207 of the agenda. I've noted a few other cities that have the council member salaries were kind of lower than most, but slightly higher than a few. But those numbers are included in there: Hercules, El Cerrito, Richmond, San Pablo, and Albany, just for a point of reference. So this particular ordinance, again, it would be amending Chapter 2.08. 0.010, increasing the city council members' monthly salary from $562.50 to $759.41. The last point I wanted to note is that the statute is it's kind of designed in a way that city council members cannot increase their salary while they are currently in office. So these increases would not go into effect until the council member is kind of starting their next term. So the next time that this would go into effect would be at the beginning of next year, because there'll be two council terms that will be kind of up and renewed. And so the fiscal impact for the next calendar year would be approximately $4,725.82 for the next 2 fiscal years. And then after the next election cycle, those 2 council seats would then be increased, those salaries. So that concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions that staff may, or the council may have.
Thank you for that report. Any questions of staff?
No questions here.
Okay, no questions. All right, are there any public comments?
Yes, Rafael Menes.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Rafael Menes. I'm a resident of Pinole, and I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to this ordinance. While I understand the equity concerns of having council members be underpaid relative to other people doing similar work and other council members in the region doing similar work, given the current state of the city's finances and the fact that we're asking the community to pass a sales tax measure, and we're likely to need to ask for further tax measures in the future, that a salary increase of this percentile magnitude, we're going from 500 to 700 something, I think that's around 33% increase in salary at one time, which is substantial. I think that if the council wants to move forward with a salary increase, that it should, if it's possible to do it without restricting the council's future potential salary increases, go for an amount that's not as large a percentile increase, because speaking purely politically, it doesn't look great for the council to be voting themselves a substantial increase right at the same time as they're also asking to increase everyone's sales taxes. That's all. Thank you.
Irma, report.
Again, Mayor, staff, and public, I disagree with the prior speaker. I think you need to go on and increase their salary in terms of, it's not even, I mean, it's, to me, I've been reading a lot about other cities raising the council members' salaries. I think our city deserves it. We haven't done this for a while. And I think, to me, it won't make even a dent on our budget. I think it's deserving of you guys, and I think I would go for it. You said it won't go active until next year or when some of the council members put their time in, but I think it's important that we deliver this out there to the public. I know it's not a lot of money. It's not going to break the bank. But in my opinion, give you guys this deserving salary that you, I mean, you volunteer so much. This is not even spending money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Yes, we have one online. Mr. Vosbrink, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, as a longtime senior citizen, taxpayer, living on a fixed income, unlike some other people that maybe don't have a mortgage to pay, don't pay taxes, whether you're on a staffer or a city council person. I pretty much agree and concur with the gentleman, Mr. Menace, in his comments. And if anything, I would also suggest or recommend that they consider hearing the increase or their raise rather than a 30+% chunk of money like the senior citizens got when they raised their lunch program from $7 to $10 for a lunch, being the highest in the county as far as a lunch program for a lot of seniors on fixed incomes that can't afford a $10 lunch anymore. But that being said, they could tier it over a 1 to 2 to 3 year period that would be more acceptable under the city's financial problems with the over $1 million a year tax deficit that they're now facing, and asking the community to increase their tax base, and there's probably going to be more tax increases to come. I'd also would suggest that if they're going to review the city council salaries or wages, that they should include maybe the planning commission as well, because they put in a lot of time with the city.
Sir, you have 45 seconds.
As well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll bring it back
No
to...
more public comments.
Okay, we'll bring it back to council for comments or a motion, discussion.
Just a question. Well, it's been some time since we last saw this. I was just wondering about the timing of this and how did it take so long to get here?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. So this was heard by the city council in April of last year.
Right.
So this was discussed, and the direction was to bring it to the municipal code update subcommittee. There were a number of other ordinances. This has to go in the form of an ordinance, so it has to come on a public hearing and a first and second read. There were a number of ordinances that were more time sensitive at the time that we needed to move forward, single-use plastics and a number of other ordinances. So this one just kind of was deprioritized, frankly, because it really didn't need to go into effect until the end of this year. So it just wasn't prioritized. So that's frankly on me and on staff. We could have brought it earlier, but there were just other ordinances that we, through the subcommittee, were advancing in advance of this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other, yes.
Question for
Yes, go ahead.
City Attorney. City Attorney Castro, just to clarify, if this were to go into effect, the increase in salaries would be for the council members who would enter a new term, right? So on a five-member council, it would be two people. And then if the three others were to get back on council in their year of election, then the amount would be the same. They would be catching up. So it would be so it's about 2 years that 3 council members are receiving $562 per month, and 2 council members will be receiving $759 per month. Help me understand what is it about that? Because we're talking about equity, but somehow that is not equitable. I mean, council members are spending the same amount of time minimally, whether they're newly in their new term or not.
Yeah, so through the chair, it's the policy behind the state law is really to prevent and to prohibit sitting council members from increasing their salary during their term. So, at the end of their term, there could be a new council member. It could, a council member may decide not to run. So it just really, the intent is really, equity is obviously important, but I think the real focus is to prevent there from being an increase during the term of a council member. And so that's why the law provides that the increase goes into effect at the end of a term. So it's the start of a new term or maybe a new sitting council member, but it's really to prevent an increase. In the law does provide that the city council can increase salaries annually. So this is something that can be discussed annually, but again, it still wouldn't go into effect until the start of the next term for a council member.
Okay, Councilmember Tave.
So, just to further clarify, we're voting for future council members, whoever they may be, to get this salary increase, not any of the sitting council members.
That's correct.
Great, okay, thanks.
Okay, yes.
Through the mayor, it might be helpful to think of it as the seat. We're referring to the council seat and not to any individual person, if that's helpful. And as you know, we have staggered terms for the seats for the public.
Yeah, and if I may, one more question. I was trying to do the algebra on this because it seems, as per the comments, that it's a staggering increase, about 35%. Since if the last change if the last increase was made in 2016, that's about 8 years away. 8 years. Yeah. So I just figured 4% and 4% and 4%. Is that how we got to? It was just coincidentally that it's 4 times 8, about 32%.
Through the chair.
How did the calculations come up?
Yeah, I believe I was trying to recall what was discussed at the time, but this was discussed back in April. My recollection is that it was, there was an adjustment because there wasn't a change since 2016. There was kind of a compounding effect. If we were to increase 3%, 4%, or 5% each year since 2016, this is kind of truing up. And there was some discussion at the council level about maybe this being something that is brought up every year so that it isn't such a significant increase every time this is revisited. But that was part of the conversation, yeah.
Thank
you. Councilmember Sasai?
Thank you for the staff report. It's been some time since we got the last discussion in the council about this. How do we land at $759.41 when the state cap says $950? How do we land on that? How is that calculated?
Yeah, so again, I don't recall the exact calculation, but I recall there being a discussion around it. If we were to increase 3 or 4% every year, just from 562 from 2016 on, that was around the number that we came to, and so it's not a even number, but I recall that was the discussion.
That's how it's calculated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm curious so there was some comparisons to neighboring jurisdictions for the monthly salaries. Richmond is $1,402.50. San Pablo is $1,094. The state cap is $950. How did they arrive at those numbers? Did they implement those new salaries just earlier than us, and then we're able to increase 5% each year to get to that number, or how did that?
Yeah, good question. So the monthly salary is dependent upon the size of the population of the city. So for cities that are 35,000 to 50,000 in population, for example, larger than Pinole, they can be up to $1,275. Just to give you an example, for cities that are over 250,000 in population, they can have a monthly salary of $3,200. So it just depends on the population. We fall into the category of 35,000 and below. So there is a cap at $950 per month. The council can't exceed that, and every year can increase salary above $950 a month. It could only do so every year, and there's restrictions on when that can be done, and that's provided for in the government code section.
Thank you. I'm curious if we did vote to implement this $759.41 as a new monthly salary for council members. If we wanted to keep increasing it, but they allow us to increase 5% each year, will we have to hear that item every single year to make that change, or can that be built into the ordinance that we just increase it 5% each year?
That's a good question. Currently, the way the ordinance reads, it provides the specific number. So as the ordinance is written, we would essentially need to bring that back every year. We could add language to the ordinance that would provide for just a 3% annual. So that's something the council can certainly consider, but currently the way that the ordinance is prepared, it provides the specific amount, and that ordinance was, I think, adopted in 1986 when it was first adopted.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just looking here. So just for the public also, the reason I went back and forth with my stance on this issue. And, the reason why I'm going to support this increase is really because of the findings that we have here in the ordinance, the fourth whereas, where the city finds that adjusting council member salaries would, quote, support diversity in city councils because increased compensation can help individuals from across different income levels receive sufficient income for their service. We want to make sure that we make government as accessible as possible, right? That also means holding elected office. And we don't want to keep low-income folks from wanting to run for the office, or those who don't have the capacity of folks who have more privilege and time. So I think it's really important that if we're going to look at policy through an equity lens, we really think about this and also consider too, when we did the calculations to arrive to the monthly salary number we have in front of us, we're basing that off of a council salary that was not adopted with equity in mind. So with the state allowing us to go to $950, I think we should consider if that's an option for us that's feasible. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Have we gone to public comment on this already?
Yes, we have had
Closed down.
public comment on this.
Great. Then I do have comments. I just wanted to make sure the public had an opportunity to speak. First of all, I want to just commend the Senator Dodd's bill that made this possible. I know that the California League of Cities, as well as the NAACP, really backed this bill, which made it possible for us to even have this conversation. For those of you who don't know, we were maxed out at 300 at some point, especially for cities under 35,000, and so 300 per month, just to be clear, with minimal allowances. So I just, again, want to reiterate how important League of California Cities was and the NAACP were in the passage of this bill. I think it's really important that we also understand that this bill's intent was to boost participation and diversity on California city councils per the author. And so it's really important that we think about, again, bringing all of our salaries, including our staff, of course, and when we do bargaining, but certainly ours as well, in line with the cost of living. And so I just wanted to reiterate that, first of all, this bill, the state bill made this conversation possible, but also I do think that it's really important that we think about aligning the maximum capacity of this bill with our current salary conversations. I think City Attorney Castro, you made a great point of just reviewing this either annually or biannually, along with our bargaining unit negotiations and or our management compensation plan, which I think we review annually. So I think it's really important that we think about this annually in ways of balancing our budget as we think about just consistently looking at the trends of our budget and how we're doing, as well as the conversation of performance. And I just wanted to say, I think the intent originally as well, what I hear, of course, from Senator Dodd is the intent of the approval of the cap per council is really determined upon the council seat and the idea that similar to a tax measure, right? We are not voting, we don't as a council vote on a tax measure, we vote to put it on the ballot. And in that same way, the city council seats, city council members who serve long hours and make critical decisions of our community, of course, have an ability to really go to the voters and seek, re-election or seek election. And that salary is tied to, of course, that their commitment of those long hours and those critical decisions made, and certainly increasing access to elected office for all Pinoleans is about addressing this kind of salary and cost of living amount. So I just wanted to note that it is really important that we kind of lay this into, I think, our consistent strategy of thinking about salary compensations for all staff members, including we as council members are employees of the city of Pinole. Certainly we have a lot of residents that hold us accountable. And so I would support this measure. I do think that we should go ahead and move to, and I'm happy to make the motion, but move to a $950 amount and with consideration of this every year as a way to just, again, at least look at it. It doesn't mean that we have to increase every year, but just making those amendments would be something that I think would be important. So,
Can you respond to that? Yes. City Attorney,
Yeah.
thank you.
So just through the chair, point of clarification. So in response to Vice Mayor Sasai's question, the statute does not allow for an automatic increase.
Right.
So we would need to have an ordinance brought forward every year, but I can work with the finance director and staff to, maybe there can be a way, maybe through the budget process, where we can discuss this and get some authority on the number, and then we could just bring the ordinance back and kind of maybe do that annually through the budget cycle. But if that's the will of the council, we could certainly have something more annually. So this is not like such a large increase every 4 or 5 years, whenever it's revisited.
And I thought I heard you wanting to make a motion to make it $950?
yeah, I just wanted to, so I think first of all, we should look at this annually, not to increase, but I just want to make sure that either we do it annually or we align this conversation similar to how we do negotiations with bargaining units. So we've, at this point, we've aligned, during my mayorship, I think we finally found a way to align all of our bargaining units in one same rotation. So I think that we should do that same thing here. I think the exception, which is not really an exception because we look at it every year, is our management compensation plan, which we look at annually, but we would obviously look at that along with our every 2-year negotiations with our bargaining units. So that would be in my motion. And my other motion is just to amend our proposed ordinance here with a change of monthly salary from $562 to $950. And so all the places where that is laid out would also I would seek that change.
Okay, there is a motion. And
For clarification, what's the current motion? On the
Just
floor?
just to reiterate, I was asking, my motion was to align this consideration of the municipal code, I suppose, with our, I can't think of the word, 2-year negotiations of our, with our bargaining units. So it would just basically, similar to how we're looking at the salaries of our public employees, we would be looking at our salaries as well. Though we're not a bargaining unit, we would obviously, seek to have conversations about budget feasibilities and budget adjustments and things like that along with those lines.
okay,
And
so
to
that's one motion, right?
I'm just putting it into one,
Okay.
but I can put it separate. It's not a big deal. Those are two ideas that I have. The second idea, of course, is to transition, to amend the ordinance from the 562.50 to 950.
Go ahead.
So for the first motion, or the first part of the motion, that would mean that we would look at this ordinance and update it mid-2026, then mid-2028. Is that the timeline? Every 2 years, this would come back to us.
The council can see it every year if it would like.
Yeah.
The
In this
motion-
case, that would mean that we would look at it in the spring of 2025 again. But again, we don't have to move on it. It's an annual review similar to what we do with the management compensation plan. And of course, every 2 years, we go into bargaining with our public employees as
Got it.
well.
And this would still come back as a new ordinance
If
of
we
a
am-
hearing process.
Yes,
When we
so
do-
we could have a discussion item where we receive direction, but in order to affect the salary increase, it would have to come back in the form of an ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then just to follow up, if there's a discussion in 2025, it wouldn't take effect for all council members until the following election, and it would only be for the new terms. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we would ideally have enough time to, we would be in staggered terms, essentially.
And just through the chair, a point of clarification. So at one time, the city council can only increase the monthly salary 5% per year based on the last year of the adjustment. So I'm terrible with the math, but I will have to calculate a 5% increase starting in 2016 on the 562.50. And so if that is less than 950, that would have to be the number, because we could only increase 5% per year from the date of the last adjustment. So with that clarification, if there's an interest in increasing it to whatever kind of the maximum amount is, but obviously within 950, that would be my only clarification. I just need to be precise about that number.
Okay, and then I have a question on that. Since that number isn't necessarily known, is this something, in order for it to take effect in January with the new term, it would need to be adopted in this calendar year? Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this item could be continued to October or November date and still take effect, and we'd have that number, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes.
But won't you be elected, like, won't the person or the seat be filled? Does it have to be done before the seat is filled?
So it would, it's when whenever the new term commences. So I think the county would need to certify the election results, and then there would need to be a kind of a formal kind of swearing in. So that might be December, it might be.
It's usually the first meeting in December, which by the calendar, it goes to the Board of Supervisors the first Tuesday for certification, and we assume that we are swearing people in, that evening. I think there have been times where we've had a special meeting, either a week or we've done it in the second meeting of December.
I think we've been looking at potentially doing the reorganization meeting, the second meeting, just planning for that. That's definitely a decision point we're going to make soon.
Yeah,
Also because there's so many vote by mail ballots, it's taking the county a little bit longer to certify. We don't want to, be up against the gun there.
Yeah, good point. So,
Yeah, so I would make a request for the motion to be in two parts, please, not combined.
okay, so if the first part is to align this discussion with the times of the year that we talk about the managers, or the, what do we call it? The unrepresented managers packets. Yes, thank you. The management compensation plan. Is that okay to break it into two motions?
No, I mean, it's the same, it's one motion, so, why would it be separate?
Because they're two separate
different ideas.
ideas.
On the same item, so I'm just going to keep it the same motion. Thank
Okay.
you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. With that, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any noes?
No.
And I'm a no, so that it still passes 3-2. Okay. All right, so with that, we have no old business.
Excuse me, on this item, just a quick question to the city attorney. This is the first reading of that item, so this means that the next council meeting will be having this on the consent calendar?
On a second reading, yeah.
Okay, and with the accurate amount?
That's correct.
Okay, so 5% about 560 is about $25 to $28 per year.
Yep.
So times 8, 25 times 8 plus 562?
It's compounded.
Or is it compounded?
Compound.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why, but we'll run the numbers.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, thank you for that report. We have no old business, no new business, but we'll swing back around to citizens to be heard, that, for citizens that did not have an opportunity to speak in public comment the first go-round.
Rafael Menes.
Good evening. For the final time tonight, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Rafael Menes. I'm a resident of Pinole, and I have a few different items I'd like to discuss tonight. First, I'd like to note a couple of community events coming up this weekend. First, as has already been noted by staff and council members and community members, there's going to be the coastal cleanup this Saturday, the 21st, at Bayfront Park, and expanding out from there. People should show up to that. It's always a great experience going around, picking up trash, getting to see nature. And then secondly, on the next day, September 22nd from 12 to 5, there's going to be a Pride celebration in El Sobrante at Lemoyne Park, I think. So I know that a lot of people went to the Pride celebration we held in Pinole, and that's where I found out about this one and figured, you know, some people might want to go to that one too. El Sobrante is pretty close by. Figured it was worth mentioning. The second topic I wanted to bring up was, as usual, the CDC COVID data tracking. Hospitalization rates appear to have declined substantially in California, though most of the data is still pending with regards to the September data. It looks like it's dropped back to roughly April levels. And the overall concentrations in wastewater also appear to have decreased pretty substantially. So I think we're currently on a downward trend in COVID rates. But I would still recommend that you get the updated booster shot and flu shot if you haven't already sometime in the near future. I know some public health people are recommending that be done in early October, so maybe wait a bit if you want to have it overlined, ideally with the winter cycle or not. But I would definitely encourage people to get it. I'm not sure how much time I have remaining. The clock isn't running here. And then I guess I also wanted to say a few words in praise of one of my fellow commissioners, Christy Lamb-Julian, who's running for Pinole City Council. I just wanted to, you know, talk about the work that I've done with her in her time on the commission. She's done a great job reaching out to and engaging with the community and taking part in the training that the city made available to everybody on that commission. While we were at the training, I noticed that she was able to interact with people in the community we went to in a really impressive way, frankly. I might just be biased by my own personal limitations and, you know, going out and interacting with people, but the way in which she was able to just connect with people in whatever community she was in, find common ground, find common interests, find out who they were, areas of overlap, I think really shows how any community, frankly, not just Pinole, would be lucky to have her as a council member just because of her innate talent at community engagement and outreach in any community, and also because of her years of growing up, of living in Pinole, of working in Pinole as a commissioner, both of the Community Service Commission and on the Planning Commission. And, you know, through her experiences dealing with challenges in the city of Pinole, I think she would make a great council member and is deserving of your support. Thank you.
All right, any other public comments?
Yes, we have one online. Telephone caller, last four numbers 5748.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name's Anthony Vosbrink, and I'd like to ask again of the city manager during her Public Works comments report and the Public Works staff department there, Manager Director Mishra, what is exactly happening behind the caretaker's house on Adobe Road, adjacent behind the dog park, Adobe Road trail there? You know, that's supposed to be an open space trail that a lot of our community uses for walking, biking, and different activities through the valley. One of our prized trails, one of few prized trails I may add in the Pinole Valley area. but as of about a week or two ago, the Public Works Department was there for a week, literally moving around old dirt, old rubble, some looks like road work, like concrete, asphalt, chipping, and when one of the people at the dog park, including myself, contacted the driver of this big backhoe bulldozer, he laughed us off and he says, "Oh, I'm just moving around dirt back there. We're not doing much of anything." Well, he rebuilt the pyramids of Egypt, which were cleared to the side years ago, where the city, I may add, violated the Pinole Municipal Dumping Code with a fine of over $1,000 when they've done that time and time and again. And I thought that stopped with Michelle Fitzer and Tamara Miller told the city to stop. But no, they started up again, and there's 10 truckloads out there. You can count them on both your hands, city council, manager, and staffers. If you don't know what's going on, I challenge either one of you to go out there tomorrow and give us a full report. But I'd like to know
Sir, you
now.
have 45 seconds.
The public has to know why you blocked the trails off and put mounds of dumps behind the caretaker's house property, on their property, and that trailhead back there, as well as what's happening to the 12 trees that were cut down along Pinole Valley Road by the Ellerhurst School across from the fire station, and the streetlight outages up and down Pinole Valley Road and San Pablo Avenue that we reported time and time and again without any resolve. And don't cut me off, because under the Brown Act, you can direct these inquiries to staff, the city manager, and or bring it up for discussion at a future meeting. So we expect some resolve here, or I don't think none of you are entitled to any kind of a salary review increase with regard to being open and transparent with the community.
Thank you, Mr. Fosbrink. Just to follow up on the issue with the trees that came down in fronting Ellerhurst School, that was recommended a couple of years ago because the Pinole Ridge is in the high fire severity zone, and the trees fronting Ellerhurst were right across the street from them and were very poor quality pine trees. So that was a recommendation from both the fire chief at the time and the capital facilities folks through the school district. They're not required to get a permit because they're a different governmental entity. And I think that was explained to you. I saw minutes from a planning commission meeting, and then I've also addressed it in the past. So that question has been asked and answered now 3 times that I'm aware of. So with that, we will take a look and we'll talk to staff, see if we can get to the bottom of what's happening on Adobe Road, and get back to you on that one. So with that, any other public comments?
No other comments.
Okay. With that, we're going to adjourn the meeting to the regular council meeting of October 15th, 2024, in remembrance of Amber Schwartz and honoring Reese Tave as he turns 5 years old tomorrow. So, thank you.